So here we are. We've read quite a few books. Maybe we've talked to teachers. We're just trying to find out what the hell is going on. We just want to know what the truth is. That's really the bottom line. We don't really care about all this crap, this spiritual crap. We don't really care about that. Hopefully we've gotten past that immature phase of spirituality where we have to have the right beads and the right sandals and the right meditation pillows, and we just want to know what the hell's going on. We want to know what reality is. We want to know what we are. What am I? What the hell am I? Why am I suffering? Why do I have this urge, these questions that I can't answer? So it goes on and on and on. It goes around in circles. And we seem to have an insight, and then, some more crap comes up, and then we're right back into it. It seems like we're chasing our tail. Seems like there's no end to it. We really kind of understand it intellectually, but we don't feel it. Well, maybe these are feelings that we've all had. Experiences that we've all had. The truth is, it's all unequivocally bullshit. Every bit of it. The problem is that we are trying to understand something using our existing framework of ideas and beliefs, that which has been given to us, conditioned with these taboos and these things that are given to us before we even have the ability to resist or the ability to question. Be your own person. You are an individual. You are unique. That is a really lovely statement, but it's bullshit, because it's handing you shackles. It's handing you bondage, institutional bondage. It's to say you are an individual is to say you are limited. And to accept that and to internalize that idea is to, by definition, make yourself limited. Because as a thing among things, I'm automatically limited by all that I'm not. As a person, as a body-mind, I'm automatically limited in space and time. I'm not this chair, I'm not this room, I'm not this planet, I'm not this galaxy, I'm not any of that. I'm just this small human being. I'm this individual trapped in a body-mind, and that's limitation. It's temporary because I was born and I will die. So we're forever avoiding thinking about death because that's really the biggest fear we have. We don't know when it's going to end. We don't want it to end. There is not a damn thing we can do about it. So it's this entire paradigm of individuality that is our bondage. Taking ourselves to be that. So we're viewing this spirituality stuff from within that paradigm. As an individual, I am a seeker. I am reading books. I am trying to figure out the answers. I want to know what I am. I, the individual, want to know what I am. But it's a dead end. It will never be resolved, ever. You might as well stop now, because that will never, ever have a happy ending, ever. The individual cannot find anything, because there is no such thing. It is that idea which is the only bondage. Taking yourself to be an individual, you are binding yourself to limitation, to being a finite thing among things, a temporary thing among things. So this is not about an individual who is seeking and then will someday understand everything and come to some special experience, some amazing state, some realization or liberation or something like that. It's not about that at all. It is about reality, and that's it. Reality. What is reality? In Vedanta and the other non-dual traditions, they say that reality is non-dual. That means it is not divided. It is not broken up. It is not made up of things. It is one whole already. It's not going to become whole. There's no spiritual superglue that you're going to bind all the objects in the universe together in one gigantic blob of oneness. It's not going to become whole. It is whole. It is one without a second. It is that. So, as an individual trying to figure that out, it's a losing battle. Because if it is whole, then you cannot be apart from it. You must be it. Whatever it is, you must be it, because it's whole, it's one. It's undivided. So trying to figure it out makes no sense. It doesn't make any difference if it's figured out, because you can't become anything except what you are, and that is already the whole. But as long as we continue to operate from within the paradigm of separation, which is what the individual is, then we are assuming that it is separate and then trying to seek the wholeness of it. And it doesn't make any sense. But it's difficult to get to that, because that's all we know. That's our entire life is built on that platform. That's my life. That's my life. That's what I want to know. What's my life about? It's not about anything. It's because it's not your life. It's just one whole reality. And that reality appears as an infinite display of appearances and happenings. And this body-mind is one of those. But those are expressions, those are manifestations, like waves in the ocean, which are never anything but ocean. We take the wave to be separate. We take the wave to be an individual apart from the ocean, and then the wave wants to find its way back to the ocean. But it can't do it. When it assumes itself as an individual apart from the ocean, then it needs to seek the ocean. That's all it can do. When it realizes it was never apart from the ocean, then there's nothing left to do still. Nothing still happens. There's just a recognition that I never was separate. In fact, I am the ocean itself, and a wave is just an expression. This body-mind is just an expression. These thoughts are just expressions. They're waves in the ocean. There's nothing to do with them. There's nothing needed. There's no manipulation required of them. They just are as they are. So when we recognize that you are that one whole reality, and whatever the expression is really is irrelevant. It doesn't make any difference. It can be whatever it can be. It can be anything. It's infinite potentiality. But it never divides itself into two. So what we're saying is reality is already non-dual. It's already whole. The oneness that you're seeking is right in front of you, and it always is. It doesn't have to become oneness. It's only the translation or the interpretation of reality which divides it. Duality is only in the interpretation. And because that's really all we can do. That's all we have is language. If we want to talk about it, we automatically divide it. We automatically, to describe anything, is to assume its separateness. If I say there's a chair, I've already divided the chair from the entire universe. But in saying that it's a chair, I'm saying that it's separate from the universe. I'm saying it's separate from reality. It's separate from that wholeness. But how could it be? Just in giving it a description, I haven't actually divided anything. But that's the way the mind works. The mind then says, there's a chair there. It's separate from the floor and the wall and the room, and it's separate from me. And here I am, an individual person, body, mind, and I'm separate. So in the describing of reality, we are assuming its separateness. And we miss that these are expressions of that one essence. So really the message that should be repeated and should be absorbed is there is nothing to get. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to become. Because the very assumption, we create that limitation. It's self-defeating. It's a self-defeating process. And it's not only unnecessary, but it reinforces the illusion instead of dissolving the illusion. Now, if that doesn't help, then there are still other concepts to be looked at. That framework is built up a lot of concepts. So we got to take a look at how are we interpreting reality. Interpreting reality is divided. If I see a rock, that rock is separate. It stands alone. It's a thing among things. But is it? Is it separate? Because an appearance can never be the absolute reality. Because an appearance can change. If it becomes one thing, it can become something else. Whatever its appearance is not absolute reality. And we can look at that very simply and easily by looking at the rock, and we see a round rock, we see it's solid, it's got weight to it, takes up a space in time and space. It's got a spot in time and space. What's the rock made of? What's it formed from? What's the essence of the rock? The rock is made up of the elements. Might be iron, magnesium, zinc, copper. Might be gold. These are elements. And elements are atoms. We know the periodic table, right? Those are atoms. And an atom is basically empty space. It has no real content, except it's got a few particles. The size of the atom it's not filled with stuff, it's just empty. And then there are particles that are moving around. And we have an electron spinning around it, and that electron's got a charge, and it's moving at a certain speed. And the speed of that electron is... I'm not a chemist or scientist, so this may not be completely accurate, but we understand what we're talking about. That electron's got a charge, it's spinning at a certain speed and behavior, and the particular behavior of that atom is why the rock is solid. Because the atom's not solid. The atom's empty space. But there's an intelligence there behaving in a way that there's an appearance of a rock. Is that not true? So it's an intelligent emptiness at work. And the expression is rock. The appearance of that intelligence is rock. But we ignore that completely, and we just say there's a rock, it's separate, We completely gloss over all of that, and we just say it's a rock, it's separate. But look deep into that rock, and you see that it's just empty space. It's intelligence behaving in a way as to appear as rock. And we know this also with water. Water is at room temperature a liquid. So the electrons or whatever, they're spinning at a certain speed. That's behaving in a certain way. That intelligence is behaving in a certain way. And the appearance is liquid water. If it starts behaving differently, if it starts moving faster, then we get steam. It's still the same thing. It's still the same essence. It's changed in appearance because of the behavior of that intelligence, behavior of that essence. And if it starts moving very slowly, then we have ice. That's solid. It's the same thing. It's just appears differently. It's got the same essence. That essence is behaving in a way as to appear in different ways. But we don't say that water is a different thing if it's vapor, or a different thing if it's ice, a different thing if it's liquid. It's the same essence. So the appearance is not the absolute reality. We can say the essence is more real, but we can't get a hold of that essence. We can't see that essence. If I gave you an atomic pair of glasses, where you could see at the atomic level, you wouldn't see anything. Maybe some particles spinning around. You would see empty space. You wouldn't see forms. You wouldn't see shapes and sizes and colors. That's all due to the appearance of it. But if you were looking at the atomic level or the quantum level even, you wouldn't see any of that. You would see emptiness. The essence of it is empty. There are no actual boundaries there. And that between the rock and the air and the body and the walls and everything, the essence of that is really just emptiness. There's nothing there, but it is intelligent, and it's behaving in a way as to express as the universe and all of its manifestations and all of its appearances and all of its infinite things, from black holes to rocks to bodies to thoughts. Everything that appears is that one essence appearing. So right now, you are looking at something, you are hearing something, you're feeling something, maybe you're tasting something, smelling something. What is it that is? So that's knowing, that's awareness, that's a cognizing that's going on right now. What is it, or who is it that's doing that cognizing? Where are you at? That intelligence is knowing itself. You may say that intelligence is aware of itself. You say, my name is Bob or Joe, and I'm Joe, and I'm this individual in this body. We've overlooked every bit of that. We've taken the appearance as absolute reality, and now we're suffering, and we want the hell out of it. But we can't get out of it because we're not ever in it. We've never been in it. What you are is that intelligence, that one essence, that one presence. And every appearance is a manifestation of that essence. So to say I'm so-and-so and I'm an individual and I have a job and I have a life, that's a way of thinking. That's a way of conceptualizing. It's true on a relative sense. Because, here's Joe, and he's got a job and a family, and things are going on. And that's true. It is true from a relative sense. Whatever we want to make out of it, we can make whatever we want out of it. And that's what we've made out of it. It's Joe. And it's Joe's life. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. We don't have to deny any of it. But it's relative. It's a story. It's being told about the appearance. But that story can never be the absolute reality, because it's made up of appearances, and that's not reality. Reality, it is reality, but it's not as appearance. It's not reality. In other words, if we say rock is absolute reality, the separateness of the rock is absolute reality, that's false. But from a relative standpoint, it's true. The absolute that's spoken of, the absolute reality, is oneness. And that's the reality right now, before the next book, before the next teacher, before the next insight. It's already the case. It's when we take ourselves to be separate and individual that we are living in a relative reality, and we're living in an illusory world. We're living in a story. We're living in concepts. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to change it, because that living in the concept is just another expression. If there's suffering going on, that's just an expression. That's another expression. If there's a sudden light bulb goes on and an insight and a realization, that's just an expression. It doesn't make any difference, because you can't become anything that you're not, and you don't have to become what you are. You already are the whole. You already are that. So that's why Nisargadatta says, just stop imagining. That's all that's necessary. And stop imagining. Stop living in concepts. Stop imagining what you are and just be what you are. So instead of an individual who was born and will die, who is apart from the world, by definition limited, seeking wholeness, seeking oneness, frustrated and confused, that's not ever going to work anyway, because it's already false. You already are that wholeness. You already are that totality, that one essence. You already are perfection. You already are limitless. You already are that one essence, knowing itself. So whenever the idea of separation comes up, just question it. Just doubt it. It doesn't hurt to doubt. Doubt that belief. Doubt that paradigm. Is that true? Doubting is very powerful. I'm separate and I'm having a crappy day. I'm having a crappy life. Is that true? That's really all that's necessary, is just to start doubting that. You don't have to do anything with it. You can always go back to it, but just doubt it. Is that true? Is that the only possibility, that I'm an individual who was limited and finite, temporary? Or am I living in appearances? Am I living in concepts? Am I the ocean believing that I'm just a wave? Can that wave ever be apart from the ocean? No. Are there any questions? So let's look at it from another direction. Right now, you are seeing a computer screen. Right now, you are hearing a voice. You might be hearing bubbling water, virtual bubbling water. There's a sensation of a butt in a chair, unless you're standing. There might be a sensation of hunger. Maybe a sensation of being cold or being hot. And all these things are known effortlessly, without any desire to have them happen. They're just happening. They're also going on, until they've been pointed out, they're going on untranslated. Now we say there's a computer and voice and water, butt and chair, hunger. Now, in naming them, I've just divided reality. And there has to be a story to go along with each one of those. There's a voice, and that's Randall's voice. And there's a computer, and that's my computer. It's sitting on my desk in my room. So for every one of those now, there's a story. That story is an interpretation. It's coming from memory. But before pointing them out, they weren't divided. Because that voice, that bubbling water, that sensation of butt in the chair, the sensation of hunger, the sensation of being warm or cold. Is there any actual division there between those? If we peel it back a little bit, we say those are perceptions, sensations. And so if I just peel it back, I peel this voice back to just being a sensation of the body, any of the sensations of the body. They're just sensations. That the meaning has sort of drained away from all of it. It's just raw sensation. I don't know what the hell it is. It's just a bundle of sensation. We haven't given it a name yet. We haven't defined it yet. We haven't told a story about it yet. It's just raw sensations. And as raw sensations, it hasn't been given a value yet either. It's not good or bad yet. It's not right or wrong. It's not here or there. All these relative attributes, we haven't assigned those yet. All that meaning hasn't come yet. It's just raw sensation. Can't find anything wrong with it yet. Maybe there are some thoughts coming in. And you know those in the same way that you know the voice and the body sensations. You know the thoughts in the same way, the perceptions. And they're just kind of there. We haven't defined them yet. There's sort of activities or patterns or subtle sensations. We don't know what they are yet. We haven't defined it yet. So is there anything at all wrong at this point? Can anything be found to be wrong? Oh, now a thought came in. Oh, I've got that bill to pay. Oh, I've got that meeting tomorrow. Oh, well, the thought sensation is still the same, but now the meaning's been applied to it. Now the translation's been given to it. The story's been told about it. It sort of busted loose. That story sort of busted loose. And then it went on. And then, now something's wrong. But before that happened, there was just this raw, effortless sensation without any meaning really to it. in that, there is no separation. Because you know where the separation comes in is in the translation, after the fact. The translation is the separation. Because in that bundle of sensation there was no separation. It was one. Because the instant that I say thought, the instant that I say hunger, the instant that I say voice, I've already divided it. To translate is to divide. But in that actual direct experience, it's one whole. And even when I divide it with concepts, I'm not really dividing anything. Now I can say it's a thought, it's a hunger, it's a sensation of coldness, or it's a butt in the chair, but I still haven't actually divided that one experience. So we just come right back to that raw, whole sensation, where the meaning has not come yet. The translations have not yet been applied. Where no right or wrong has yet been given. And in that, we might have the opportunity to notice the propensity of what we call mind to apply those labels, to apply that translation, to tell that story. As we rest in those raw sensations without any meanings, then we notice the attempt at giving meaning to everything, at the attempt at explaining everything, at defining everything, at quantifying everything, at telling a story about everything. We notice that happening. Now the raw sensation is there. Raw data. And then there is also the knowing of that raw data. That's there too. Because it's known somehow. The sensations might change. The sensations might be given meaning and a story may come. But that knowing is still there. And there may even be a story told about the knowing. That's me. Me, the individual. Me, the individual who is suffering. And now I'm seeking. Now I want to. Now I go on and on into the story about it. But I've already divided reality without ever even noticing. And I'm living in the story about it. So we see that the story is a story. We see that the story is made up of descriptions and concepts. And it relatively is true, but it's not absolutely true. And it really isn't even direct experience. Direct experience is raw. It's undescribed. Direct experience has no meaning yet applied. can't say what the hell it is. I have to go into my bank of memories and knowledge to pull out a meaning for it, to pull out a label, to weave my story. I have to go into that after the fact. It doesn't come with a label on it. We don't know what the hell it is yet until we do that. But if we don't know what the hell it is, then we're scared to death. So that fear drives that story. The fear of the unknown, fear of mystery, drives that story to be told. And in doing so, it creates this idea of separation where there is none. So come right back to that bundle of raw sensations. It's not even really a bundle. That's still a story. Let's come back to just the sensations. Those not really even sensations, because that's still a subtle story. So what do we have left? What else can we say about it? We've drained the last concept from reality. Or so we thought. We're left with this not knowingness. We're left with this mystery. Can't even say what it is. We can't even talk about it. We can't deny it, but we can't really talk about it, because to do so is to go into a story about it. And we're just resting in this unknown. We've drained every concept that we can. But there's still this subtle subject-object equation. There's still this whatever it is that I know that is an object to the subject knowing. The subject now is just that knowing. It's just that awareness. That's still a subtle subject-object equation. But I don't know what the subject is. I can't define it. I don't know what awareness is. I can't get a look at it. Because that's me. That's the part of this equation that's me, is that subjectivity or that awareness. Everything else has been drained away. I don't know anything else. I still sort of have a little concept hanging around here called awareness. Knowing. I'm knowing something. So we're just resting in that pure knowing of whatever it is. The concept sensation's long since fallen off. But I don't know what it is. But I know that I'm knowing it. I'm experiencing it. And that sentence, I am experiencing it, is conventional language structure. It's a noun, which is me, the noun, and it is whatever it is. It's the object of my sentence. But the subject and the object are still stories. We drain away the subject as a thing. We drain away the object as a thing, a definable thing. We don't really know what the hell either one of them are. And we're left with just the experiencing itself. Experiencing is happening. Experiencing is happening. We know that. That's what we know. I can't drain away that. I didn't have to go into my bank of knowledge or memories to know that. It's not a concept. Experiencing is happening. That's all I really know. I don't really know about a subject. I don't really know about an object. I really know that experiencing is happening. That's how I know that I exist. But I don't know what I am. I am experiencing. If I'm anything, I'm experiencing. I am that experiencing. But if the problem is I can't divide out the subject and the object away from it. I can't split it up. Because the experiencing and the experienced really aren't two things. It's really the same reality. It's the same reality. It's just experiencing. Experiencing is happening. And that encompasses everything. Doesn't matter what it ends up being translated as or told a story about, it's still just the experiencing that's been conceptually divided, that's had a story told about it. It's still just this experiencing. It's just this. It's just the isness right here and now. And that's me. That's you. That's what you've always been. Just the experiencing with no way of putting a boundary around that except for concepts. And the concepts never ever really meant anything anyway. The stories are always relative. That experiencing is not relative. That experiencing is absolute. It is. It is. You can't get out of it. It didn't require some special state to be reached. It was the other direction. It's when all those states and concepts and stories were drained away that we arrived at what reality really is. And reality really is just the experiencing, the wholeness, and then the stories can come. And that's okay. The duality can come. And we can have a conversation. And we can talk. And we can pay the bills and have dinner with our kids. And it's okay because we're telling stories about the absolute reality. The stories are just relative. But it never takes away from, it never moves away from the absolute reality that already is. And it is just that experiencing is happening right now. Whatever that may appear as, whatever it may express as. You don't have to reach it. To seek it is to move away from it. To move in the wrong direction. To assume that that's not it. There is only this present wholeness which is perfect and complete and contains everything. And that's you. That you are that. Without the first thing to be done. We just see through those stories. We recognize how the meaning and the translations and the interpretations color reality as divided. And we just come back to that one essence which is ever present and never in need of anything. And that's what you are. Are there any questions? It's either a long question or a slow typer. Just pondering on the thing you are pointing to will eventually cause the ignorance to dissolve. Sure. The first doubt is enough. Because that paradigm of separation, the concept of an individual, it's really a shaky foundation. In fact, it takes a lot of effort to continue building that story. It's exhausting to continue propping up that image. The instant that it's truly doubted is the beginning of the end. The instant that that individual is truly questioned, doubted, can't stand for long, because there is no actual individual, separate individual person. That's just a story or a belief or an assumption. And if we really look at that, if we're willing to look at it, we see that what it's made out of is these body and thoughts which are sensations. It's all we really know what they are. That story of the individual is built on very shaky ground. And there can't be found a self-center. There can't be found an individual entity and in fact, we may come to realize that it's just a story we've been telling without ever once questioning it. And Vedanta, or whatever tradition, is just about honesty. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're not trying to convert you to anything. They're not trying to make you believe anything new. It's all about discarding beliefs, investigating assumptions, discarding what is obviously not true. Because if you discard all concepts, as we did when we drained away the labels and the meaning, we were left with pure reality, undivided reality. And the individual had to come in as a story. That's the only place the individual actually exists, is in that story. So if we're open, we might recognize where that individual is built. And it's built in those assumptions. It's built from falsely giving solid reality to that which is not really true, like the body. We call it a body, but we don't really know that. All we really know is that sensations are happening. And then we give it a name. We've been taught to give it a name, body. We don't really know that. We don't know what the hell it is. The only thing we really know is it's just a bundle of sensations. But we don't like that because that's very uncomfortable. It's very uncertain. We don't like uncertainty, so we give it a story, we go along with that, and we've long since forgotten that it's just a story. We don't really know what the hell it is. And that individual is right along in there. It's built right in that story. It's exhausting to continue to prop up that image. So the first little chink in the armor, it's the end. It's the beginning of the end. It can't stand for long. Nisargadatta says the false can't stand up to investigation. So don't believe anything that I say. Look at it yourself. Ask what is really true. What do you really know? Really scrutinize the stories. Are you telling yourself a story? You are. We may not like the fact that we're telling ourselves a story. We may not be comfortable with the fact that we've built our entire life on concepts. But that's what it is. And at some point, it's a freedom. It's freedom from concepts. It's a freedom from. It's not freedom for the individual. It's freedom from the individual, the story of the individual. You're not bound by that. You never were bound by that. You bind yourself with stories. The ocean believes that it's just this little wave. It just came up, and then it's going to have its little ride up to the shore, and then boom, it's going to crash, and it'll be gone. It'll be dead. Then it'll be gone. But what can happen to the ocean? It's still just ocean. The ocean's telling itself a story called wave. It's really quite funny. It should be examined with a lightness, with curiosity, with a willingness to doubt everything that you believe you know. There's nothing wrong with questioning your beliefs. Anyone that tells you to accept their beliefs, or just adding to the story, it should be washed away. It should be drained away. Come down to zero concepts. Come down to zero stories. And what do you have left? And find that out for yourself. And there's no more need for seeking. There's no more need for books or teachers or any of this bullshit. You already are perfect, complete, and whole. You already are the totality itself, the one essence. But if you believe that, it's just as much bullshit as anything else. Come to that conclusion on your own. Investigate reality. Investigate what you believe. Be willing to question and doubt everything. And give up the idea of some future attainment. Somehow forcibly pulling the universe together in some concept of oneness. That's just more bullshit. Start from the fact that you already are real, that you exist, and just find out what is that existence, what's the true nature of that existence, without having to tell any stories about it. And nothing needs to be done. Nothing is required. No manipulation is required. You don't have to become a better person. You don't have to manipulate thoughts. You are that one essence. That's all that there is. How can you not be that? So just question. Seriously, question, be open to any possibility with a very discerning investigation. Did you see my previous question? Is there something there like what Bob says, pure intelligence? What is that? So if you recall, we talked about that emptiness, which is the essence of all appearance. In the Buddhist Heart Sutra, it says emptiness is form. Form is emptiness. It doesn't say emptiness becomes form. It doesn't say that emptiness is great and form sucks. It says they're the same thing. Emptiness is form, and form is emptiness. Another way to say it is that the source or the essence is the expression, and the expression is the essence. It's the same thing. So that emptiness is intelligent. It's behaving in ways. I'd say it's moving. It's difficult to say it's moving when we really have nothing but that. So how could we measure the movement? But from a relative sense, we can say that it's behaving in a way. The electrons are spinning. The quantum field is fluctuating. Whatever. Something is happening. That intelligence is behaving in a way as to appear as rock, ice cube, or steam, body, thought, a meteorite, black hole, whatever it is. That intelligent essence is expressing as everything. If you take yourself to be just an expression, either way, really, you come to the same conclusion. Because if that essence is everything, then even if I am just a small, limited piece of it, I still am that essence. Because I'm still, essence is form, form is essence is form, form is essence. But if there is only one essence, then that form can't be apart from any other form. And really, the expression itself is just like a wave in the ocean. It's never becoming anything but ocean. It doesn't become something different. So that body, mind, the thinking, and all the intellect, that's just an expression of the essence, an expression of the whole. You are the whole. What you really are is the essence, the whole itself. But we ignore that. That's why it's called ignorance in Vedanta. We ignore what we already know. We ignore that raw sensation and preference for the arbitrary labels and the arbitrary stories. And we do it because of uncertainty and fear. We're afraid of uncertainty. We don't like not knowing what it is, so we imagine a story about it. And in imagining a story about it, we also imagine its separation. Do you trust pure intelligence? Who are you asking? No one. I might say that intelligence is asking itself that question. How do the planets spin in perfect orbit? How does the blood pump through the veins? How does the hair and fingernails grow? How does the body know how to heal itself? There's an intelligence there. Planets are spinning perfectly around the sun, or the sun's around in the galaxies. Galaxies crash into each other in a slow motion and graceful dance, where they ultimately, over billions of years, combine into one bigger galaxy. There's an intelligence at work. That intelligence is not outside of that, acting upon it, separate of it. That intelligence is the very essence of everything. And we know this. We might even call that God. We don't have to call it anything, but we might call it God. But God is not acting from outside upon these creations. That intelligence is the very essence of what is. And what is appearing is only a relative expressions of that essence, that intelligence. So if we say, I want to walk with God, well, God is the very essence of everything. Whatever we call that, we can call it God if we want to. Call it an essence, an intelligence. There is obviously an intelligence at work. We don't have to have a quantum lens and look at the nothingness. We can obviously see that there's an intelligence at work. Can't explain it, but we don't have to. The very body is a manifestation of that essence, of that intelligence. The thoughts are expressions of that intelligence. And even the idea of the individual is a thought, and that's an expression of the wholeness, of the essence, of the intelligence. So, to try to change it is to resist that, to take yourself as apart from that, and then try to resist that, try to change it. It's asinine. Everything is perfect as it is. And it is only that one essence. Just like every wave is only water. So there isn't anything really to do except come to the realization or acceptance or surrender or whatever you want to call it, that you are that essence. What you are must be that essence itself. There's nothing but that. Everything that appears is that essence, that intelligence. We can only describe the essence by talking about its manifestations. But if I say there's a rock, then I'm talking about that essence. In Vedanta, they say the jnani or the guru or whatever they call it, when seeing anything, sees Brahman. Brahman meaning that essence, that wholeness, that totality, that intelligence. In seeing anything, sees that Brahman. And if we translate it into Buddhist terms, we say that essence, that emptiness is form, and that form is emptiness. It's the same thing. A lot of people try to get out of form and get into emptiness, but it's it's kind of ridiculous because it's the same thing. It's all there is. And the kind of the root message is that the translation or the interpretation, the description, the quantification creates a false separate reality. And that's the only place there's duality, is in the interpretation, in the paradigm of thingness, that you are a thing among things. That by definition is limitation. There's no sense, there's no, it's obvious why there's a feeling of limitation, because that's where you're operating from. The ocean believes that it is just that wave. It misses its wholeness or totality as ocean, and taking itself to be just an expression, just a wave. The ocean doesn't need to do anything to be that. If it believes itself to be a wave, then that wave is seeking. That wave is seeking ocean. Another wave comes along and says, "Look, brother, you're the ocean. You're taking yourself to be a limited wave, but you're really ocean, expressing as wave." And the wave goes, "You're crazy. I'm a wave. I've been a wave for, a while now, and I'm headed towards the shore. It's going to be the end of me." And the other wave just kind of shakes its head and says, we're both the ocean. We're both just ocean. We don't have to do anything to become ocean. And then when the wave crashes into the beach, it goes right back into the ocean, and nothing really happens. It doesn't go anywhere. Nothing happens to it. It had no separate existence to be lost. So don't take any of this. Don't go away from here and take any of this as the truth. Just consider it all to be bullshit until it is investigated for yourself. Consider the possibility that there is no such thing as a person. There's no such thing as an individual. That is just an assumption. It's a learned belief. And that what you are is the whole, the essence. That intelligence is looking at itself right now, knowing itself through what we call the eyes of me. And just seriously question that root assumption and see if you can find that individual anywhere. Are there any other questions? Just like zero tolerance, say zero concepts. Absolutely. Be determined to discern what is a concept, what is a story, and what is reality. As we said with the experiencing, when the meaning has not yet been given to the raw data, the raw sensation, and we're just resting in what is. We don't need a concept to be here. And in that sort of moment of not knowing, we're in prime opportunity to notice how the concepts are formed, how they come about. We see them happening. We see the stories develop. We see the meanings being applied, and then the stories being woven from that. We see also that that's an unnecessary thing that's happening, because this non-conceptual isness is there before the first concept. This raw experiencing is happening, and we don't ever have to give it a concept. And then existence is not individual existence. Existence is just undescribable. And then the habitual stories, or the impetus to have those stories play, just almost automatically dies away. Maybe little by little, but when we're resting in that raw, pure not knowing, that raw mystery, before any meaning or label or concept or story has been applied. And we don't know what the hell anything is yet. Then that's the opportunity to notice the mechanism, to recognize that it's unnecessary, to recognize really the driving force behind it. And that's that fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear of mystery. And as we rest in that raw experiencing, that fear sort of dies away, because there's obviously nothing to be afraid of. We may say it is peace itself. And then that fear really starts to die away. And therefore the impetus to kick off these stories really sort of dies away. We don't have to know what it is. We don't have to give it names. We don't have to give it meanings. And then we see that this raw experiencing is all really that there ever is. And it is not divided. It's not divided except conceptually when the stories kick off, when the meanings start to be applied, when we give it a name. Then we've automatically conceptually divided in. We don't really have to ever go there. We can, and we are right now going there. And that's okay. I just keep coming back to that space of not knowing, we might call it. Drain away all the meanings and all the knowledge and all the labels and everything else, and just rest in what is. And we know what that is. We know that that's pure experiencing, and that must be what you are. Not a subject, not an object. Pure intelligence. Completeness. And in that, I can't find myself as a separate person. In that, I can't tell a story about a life of suffering or seeking, or I can't find a life story without going into the concepts. I can't find a life story. I can't find an individual. I can't find a seeker. Only thing I can find is this. Just what is. An experience of not knowing, and it was called psychosis. It's only psychosis when the not knowing then becomes fear. And we've probably all had that. Unexpectedly, we're sort of, maybe we went to a foreign country, and or maybe even a foreign city. You know, in the United States, there are lots of places that seem like foreign countries. But maybe we were taken out of our element. Maybe we were taken out of all of our familiar landmarks. Everything familiar was gone, and we were put into a situation that was completely unfamiliar. The signs were in a weird language we didn't understand. The people were speaking we didn't understand. We had no references. We were completely tossed about without any anchor. Or maybe we've always believed something, and for some reason, somehow, that belief was pulled out from under us. We suddenly realized that it was false. We've been believing it forever. It's like the ground is being pulled out. We have nothing to hold on to, or sort of falling. Our foundation has crumbled. It's only scary if we insist on having that knowledge, if we insist on having a story about it. If we have no basis by which to build a story, then we're sort of cast out there with nothing to hold on to. And that's a perfect opportunity to recognize this not knowing or this mystery. because that is at the very root of every experience. It is at the very root of existence itself. Peace is what you are. It's a word for you. Peace is not found in the world. Peace is not found because of something. Peace is uncovered when the conditions fall away, when the wanting or needing falls away. That's why I say that experiencing, we may call that peace. Are there any other questions? Well, if there are no other questions, we will wrap it up. Try to have these meetings every week, sometimes every other week. These are often recorded and posted on the website. If you want to go back and listen to them, why, I don't have no idea why you would, but had to sit through it once. Why would you want to sit through it again? But it is on that site right there. If the recording worked, this one will be up there too. So, love to you, my friends. Maybe we'll see you next week.